Kyle Guarantee, previously Chief Economist for Texas A&M. He is here to deliver the information of the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is the man, the myth, and the legend, Dr. Ted C. Jones.
Greetings, everyone. Who's never heard me speak? Never heard Ted? We could use the old jokes, guys. Set this down. Let's do this. I figured, there's some good things going on from just listen to that previous speaker. There's some bad things going on, some ugly things. Who thinks I'm right? Great topic. So let's talk about today. This kind of reminds me of what's going on today. Y'all ever woke up at 9:77 in the morning? Who thinks this year's kind of weird? I mean, no one knows what's going to go on. You got this debt ceiling and all this other kind of stuff. Now, we just came through the biggest change in our generation's lifetimes. COVID, right? Perfectly changed this. This describes COVID perfectly. It just sits there, and it sits there, and it sits there, and it doesn't work. And it's still there. It's a virus. It'll never go away. It's just like the cold, the flu, but we've learned how to deal with it. Now, I'm now 69 years old. And I think COVID was the biggest structural change in our lifetimes. And I'm so old, and Gen X and Gen Y and Gen Z and Millennials, this is a true picture, no, it's not Photoshop. I'm so old, I can remember when they had ashtrays at McDonald's.
Oh, wow.
And I've had over 10 millennials assault me saying, "You Photoshopped that." No, I didn't. So then I showed them this picture off of eBay. I never smoked, but you can actually buy McDonald's matchbooks for $5 each on eBay. No, I'm not kidding you. You talk about old folks. Some of y'all may remember this. If you're a Gen X, Y, Z, or millennial, that's what your grandma looked like in the 1970s. There you go. Yeah. Talk about change. We just celebrated the 75th anniversary of the transistor. And you heard that great presentation before of all the tech companies coming here. Y'all realize the transistor is simply just a really energy efficient switch. Now, put that in comparison. And some of you will remember this. You used to turn on a TV set, 2 or 3 minutes later it came on. Who remembers that? These vacuum tubes are horrible switches. And so, how do we change? Look at this facility. It's all tech. What's a silicon chip? It's a piece of silicon with a couple million miniature transistors on it. You realize how, and realtors in this room, online listing sites, y'all realize how it's changed your business? In fact, you went from being a glorified free Uber driver, am I kind of correct? To a much more value-added individual in the transaction process, which is pretty cool. Now, I want to tell you what happens when you turn 69. You get to do what the heck you want to do. I no longer, for 10 years, have not made New Year's resolutions. Why would I make a list of things I'm not going to keep? So I make myself a list of things I'm not going to do that. Who kind of likes that idea? Who's going to start doing that? So look in the upper left-hand corner. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Now, Travis, thanks for keeping these running. Look at the right. I'm not doing that. But I'm going to ask you, who in here wants to do at least one of those? There's about 4 or 5 crazies. I know. This whole section's crazy over here. I mean, man, not doing that at all. Things you're not going to do. Talk about things I'm not going to do. How about, let's do this one. Not doing that one on the left. That's South Africa. You give them $200, they give you 2 glasses of wine and a bottle of wine. Two glasses and a bottle of wine. You can totally cross that waterfall for such a romantic evening. And to that, I say, nope, not doing that. Who wants to do that one in here? And the one on the right, you have to pay $80. That just looks like working. That's a nope on that one, too. Not going to do that one. Nope, not going to do that one. I'm not doing this one. I got my own 4-wheel drive. That's not mine because I'm not stupid enough to do that. Who in here wants to do that one, or who's done this one? This is one of those kind of grapes. Not going to do that one. Not ever going to do this one. This individual is one pothole away from either getting God or the devil. You do that. Not going to this one, not doing either one of those. And the one on the left just barely makes it. Not doing those. Not this one. Now, realize there's a photographer going down with that guy. And that's a no. Who wants to do that one? Nope. And on the right-hand side, I never drank Red Bull, and now I know why. Does it make you do that? That's no on that one. No on that one. So let's talk a little bit honesty here. Guys, we have leadership in Washington, D.C. that you and I have elected that says we're going to be 100% renewable energy in 27 years. That's physically and financially impossible. I'm going to show you where all of our energy comes from. Let's just discuss this. And remember, I've appraised 2 nuclear power plants, I've appraised 100,000 megawatts of coal-fired utility, natural gas plants. I want you to look at this. Bottom line's coal, dark over the bottom. And we do have some issues with coal. Let's forget carbon dioxide right now, because these are all fossil fuels, almost all we're going to talk about. Coal, who's ever been to China and seen a coal-fired plant? You actually have to be about 5 miles away from it and you see it, because everything for 5 miles around is black. They don't do any emissions control on their coal-fired plants. We've learned to put in electrostatic precipitators and take out 99.97% of all the fly ash, which is great. Second thing about coal, and we heard about this back 20, 30 years ago, and it's all true, and it's true in China this day. We have this thing called, when you think about it, when you burn coal, particularly eastern U.S. coal that's high in sulfur, it releases sulfur dioxide and it creates acid rain. When it rains out, it actually changes the pH of rivers and fields and forests, so much it actually destroys almost everything in that environment. We learned how to take care of that. We put in we put in SO2 scrubbers, or even in western coal, which is really, really low in sulfur, we just put in a great big giant canvas bag like this building. We just pass that gas in, it doesn't go through that. So now what we can't take care of in coal, and no one talks about this one, is that in all coal is natural occurring radiation and uranium. And when you burn it, it goes straight in the atmosphere. They say that coal-fired plants probably put multiples the amount of radioactive material in our atmosphere compared to radioactive reactors themselves. Yellow, that's oil. Green, that's nuclear. Notice we really didn't start producing any nuclear until about the 1970s. Red or maroon, I'm an aggie, so we're going to call it maroon. Guys, that is the cheapest form of electrical generation there is. Hydro. But I want you to notice that line shrinking. You know why it's shrinking? Because we're actually going through and cutting some previous dams we put in attempts to save endangered species. And we're cutting dams, and we're going to cut 2 more dams in the Pacific Northwest in the next 9 years. So our cheapest form of electricity is off the table. How about that? Then you go to the next one, and that circle right there, you can't, in that circle, there's that bright, look on the left, there's geothermal above that solar, on the description on the left. There is so little geothermal in the U.S., you can't even make a line on that chart. That in that circle, there's a little itty bitty of that kind of that violet. That's all the solar installed in the entire United States of America. And then the next one on top of that, the orange, that's all the wind energy. Now here's what I want to tell you. We spent $6.7 trillion subsidizing wind and solar since 2004, and that's all we've got to show for it. Now if you really think you can run on electricity, I'm afraid in 27 years, 100% renewable, we'll be living like our heirs that lived in caves. Who thinks I'm kind of right on this one? We just can't generate this kind of electricity. Now, not that we shouldn't look at it, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying going 100% renewables is not going to happen. Now, I've appraised multiple wind farms. Who in here besides me has seen wind farms burn? Look at the hands go up. You know why? You've seen those blades going down your interstate freeway out here. Several hundred feet long each. Put 3 of those on an axle. Run it through a transmission and spin a 63,000 pound copper generator. There's so much torque and horsepower, there's not a lubricant made that over time will withstand that. And when it fails catastrophically. One on the right hand side, that's not because of lubricant, You ever driven past a wind farm and it's like 100 turbines out there, or 1,000, and 2 of them are spinning, and the rest aren't? Gotta have at least 11 miles an hour. If the wind's below 11 miles an hour, it's not gonna work. Oh, and if it goes above 33 miles an hour, what they do to control that is they feather the blade just like they do on a propeller airplane. But if that mechanism fails, you get a catastrophic failure like on the right, which is pretty unbelievable if you think about it. So then, we're now losing about a tower a month. We're losing so many towers right now that the 3 insurance companies insuring them are saying, hey, we don't think we're going to do this much longer. And now, so let me tell you what we did to make it much more efficient to get more energy per tower. 3 years ago, when they changed the design of the blades, they decided to put kind of like a Teflon coating on the leading edge so that you won't have as much friction and it'll slip better through the wind. So they put this stuff on there, the leading edge, about 3 tons per blade, called BPA, which is carcinogens. In fact, if you ever look at a water bottle, it'll always stamp on there, no BPA. Well, they thought that those leading edges would last about 18 years. And what we learned is everything we put in the last 3 years, that leading edge, that 3 tons per blade, all that BPA is all gone in 18 months. So now we're filling up, it's all in the atmosphere. So now we're filling up landfills with these carcinogenous blades. We're having to redo them all. Oh, and then I know we're trying to reduce carbon dioxide here. At the base of every one of these towers is 2,500 cubic yards of concrete per tower. How do you make Portland cement? Well, you take a diesel-powered big industrial truck and tractors and loaders and all that. You dig out limestone, you crush it to the consistency of talcum powder. You heat it up in a retort, well, that's just a big oven, so you'll have the heat hydration. Oh, and every Portland cement plant that I know of that I've ever seen is either fueled by coal or natural gas. Oh, but natural gas would be my favorite of all fuels right now. Why? For every BTU of energy from natural gas compared to any other fossil fuel, it's like less than half as much carbon dioxide. Wow, guys. You know, we have a lot of alternatives. What I'm saying is more than just those few. Now, I gotta ask this. Who in here drove an electric vehicle here today? Yeah, which one do you have? Out of E12. The e-tron. Yeah, I've actually driven in that car. I know Elon Musk, and I think he created one of the most innovative vehicles of my lifetime that does not work for my lifestyle. It may work for yours, but it doesn't work for mine. There's no one size fits all in this room, folks. It's not uncommon for me. I'm in Houston. I'll drive to Dallas, which is a 5-hour drive. I'll work 6 hours and drive back. I can't do that in this. Hey, the good news for y'all, AAA this year is now sponsoring roadside charging for EVs. They tow around a dual axle, 4-wheel diesel powered generator to juice you up. No, that's a true story. Y'all can do that. So there we go on this one. Now, who's ever driven from San Francisco to Los Angeles? Yeah, it's about 7 hours, right? Who's ever driven that in an EV? There is one supercharging location on the entire road, correct? And it happens to be here in San Luis Obispo. And this is the waiting line to get into charge in San Luis Obispo. Now, we're not even near the chargers yet, folks. Oh, a lot of people, they just checked in to be in there for 8 hours because they're going to go inside and go to sleep and then put their car back in their slot, their line. All right, so it's a 7-hour drive, 3.5 hours each way between San Francisco and then San Luis Obispo and then on to Los Angeles. Oh, we finally get the chargers. 7-hour wait. That doesn't work for me. Does it work for you? We gotta be creative on this stuff. So, I'm asking. Normally, if you have a level 1 charger, that's 120 volts. Plug it in over there, plug it into your car. In the next 24 hours, you get 50 miles of charge. Thereabouts. Level 2 charger, it's 240 volts in your garage. Is that what you have on your e-tron? Yeah. 240 volts, charge your car about 5 to 7 hours, correct? Yeah. That's cool. But if you want to get where it's charged in 20 minutes to 60 minutes, you get a level 3 charger. A lot of people are not putting this in. This level 3 charger from Boston, It's $18,500. Another, well, all up installs are between 25 and 30,000 over and above the cost of your car. But here's the gotcha. Let's say we all live in the same subdivision here, right? But y'all right here, you all have level 3 chargers, right? 10 of y'all have that. When you are using a level 3 charger at your house is now using as much electricity as 55 surrounding homes. So we got 10 people in this neighborhood where y'all live. I just added 550 homes to the grid, which we can't handle, am I correct? We gotta think realistically, we gotta think creatively. Y'all ready for some good news? I think oil and gas will be around for a while. Just tell you that up front. Now, by the way, good, bad, ugly. This slide it's phenomenal. It's good and it's also ugly. This is the latest U.S. unemployment rate, 3.4%. Let me tell you what's good about it. It's the lowest it's been, tied at the lowest it's been in 53 years. You want a job, you got a job. Bob Worthless brother-in-law wanted a job, he could find it. Believe it or not. How could this slide be ugly? Well, our current unemployment rate is 3.4%. The Federal Reserve has raised the Fed funds rate because they want to raise the unemployment rate to be between 5 and 6% to slow down the economy to get rid of inflation. Now, I think we got to do something about inflation because it's priced people out of houses and interest rates and everything else like that. Now, think about this. If we go from 3.4% to 5% unemployment rate, that means 2.8 million Americans will lose their jobs. If we go to 6%, which Powell originally said he wanted to go to, we have 3.9 million lose their jobs. And if we lose between 2.8 and 3.9 million jobs, we got a recession. And I think there's one coming. Nothing like 2008. That's the good news on this. But let me show you this one, the unemployment rate. This is inflation. It's the Black Friday, our biggest number, was 335, now 334. Do you know what they're saying to you? Aren't you glad we didn't raise prices? And that's what we said. You'll see much more of this. Here's our inflation rate. Well, it's good. Last June it was 9.1%. It's currently 4.9%. That's great. Well, the Fed's going to take us that yellow line. And at the current rate of decline, we'll be there in about 12 months. So here's my next forecast. I think we've got a tough 12 months in front of us. I don't think when we wake up next morning, the Fed's going to cut rates. I think we're looking at a tough 12 months. Who thinks I'm right? Who wishes I was wrong? Guys, I just got to go sidebar this one. I built this chart, back when we first started this before the pandemic. It's federal data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And there's two types of data. There's just raw data, and that means what percent of people actually are looking for a job right now that want a job. And then there's seasonally adjusted data. And adjusted data, for example, you always have really high employment in December. You always have really low employment in January after the holidays. And what I just found out in the last almost 20 months is that whenever one's the lowest, they report that one and they lie to us. If you go with this series, don't say this month like they just did. Oh, we dropped to 4.9%. Guys, that was the one that reported the month before. They picked the 4.9 because it was lower than the seasonally adjusted 5. Joe, does anyone in here besides believe me, your government's not telling you all the truth? Just had to say that. I'm no conspiracy guy, but I got this one wrong. So here's what inflation's cost us. We spent last year $1.1 trillion more than the year before buying the same stuff. Let me tell you about today's. Last year, total federal income tax collections were $4.9 trillion. I would rather pay another $1.1 trillion in income taxes than $1.1 trillion of inflation, because nobody gets no inflation. Our government can certainly do something good with another $1.1 trillion. Then interest rates. I'll just put it this way, you can see where we are, and yes, that's a lot less than it was in 1982. But folks, I don't know in my lifetime I'll ever see 2.65% again, and I don't think you will either. I think that's an anomaly. And so, now let me tell you the worst case scenario on this one. Fannie Mae says we won't get below 6% until Q3 of next year. Even Fannie Mae and the MBA say, we got a tough 12 months. I'm agreeing with you. You talk about that stuff, that's tough. So then, I'm going to forecast interest rates mathematically, statistically. So I got a PhD in finance and minor statistics, so allow me to pull out some statistics. Who remembers statistics at college? That's more than normal, and I'm one of you bones, so it's a good sign. Remember regression. All regression analysis says if I know certain variables, I can forecast other variables. So I know what the Fed funds rate is and where we're going because Kyle's already told us. I know what the 10-year treasury is. How? Because we read that every day, every second. Oh, and the futures market forecasts that for the future. What I don't know is where 30-year rates are. So that's what I'm going to forecast using those first two variables. Go on that top left-hand corner of that graph. First yellow thing. It says, for the last 6, almost 7 years, if I know the Fed funds rate and another 10-year rate, I can explain 90% of the variability in weekly 30-year rates. On the bottom right-hand corner where those yellows are, what's the probability of this? The probability of being accurate is almost 100%. I mean, we call this incredibly robust in forecasting. And so that sounds all that good, kind of good stuff. There we go on that one. But here's what it does. Y'all see that red or maroon line? That's the actual weekly 30-year rate. You see that gray bar fuzz kind of below it? That's the forecast. Do you see how well this model forecasts what happened for the last 6 years? Unfortunately, this model, based on what we have today, says that rates will hit 7% this year. Oh, and one of my tweets last week, and who follows me on Twitter today? 2 people. Thank you. Zillow said that if we don't hit, if we default on our federal debt, on the debt ceiling, within 24 hours it'll be 8.34%. 30 rates. So that's a really good model now if you look at that. So the Fed, they're out of it. We're not cutting rates. There's 19 members on that board, 17 saying, nope, we're not doing that. We're going to stay the line and ride the course. There we go. So, next slide, civilian labor force. That's a great number. Because the more bodies you got to work, the better off you are. Now, the participation rate is the percent that actually want a job or have a job. So, our labor force is the biggest ever. Our labor force is between 16 and 70, and either able-bodied or able-minded to work, you're in there. But the participation rate, that's the percent that either have a job or are looking for a job. And it's the lowest it's been in my lifetime except during the pandemic. Think about that. And here's what it leads to. This McDonald's is paying $21 an hour to flip hamburgers. That's so good. This McDonald's now hiring people that show up. Y'all get this where we're in this now? Ugly slide number 1. This is our credit card debt. Now, go back there to 2020, it dipped down during the pandemic because we didn't buy anything on credit cards. We couldn't go anyplace, didn't buy stuff, didn't travel, any other kind of stuff. It went down. Then we got all that stimulus. And notice, even though we got all that stimulus, we started getting more and more and more credit card debt. Do y'all realize we just saw the largest increase in one quarter credit card debt in the history of the United States of America? Well, that's not the other one. This is the other one. This is the interest rate on that credit card debt. Whoa. Over 20%. So now let me tell you this, but you already know this if you follow me on Twitter. A typical American household last year and that had credit cards between November and New Year's, including Christmas and Hanukkah and everything else, they had about $1,500 credit card debt. 37% intend to make minimum monthly payments, which means on average they'll pay it off in 24 years at 20% per year. That doesn't give people saving for houses. And then you look at this one, great news. Real retail sales and food service sales. Oh, anytime you see an economist say the word real, that means they adjusted for inflation. Why is this important? Because it's 70% of GDP. 70% of all the value goods and services we produce is right there. And you know what? For the last 18, 20 months, it's been the highest in history. You see that? So here's the ugly news. What happens when you lose those 2.8 to 3.9 million jobs? This go down as we go into recession. There we are. So I think we're seeing a recession this year without question whatsoever. So here we are in this economy. I call it the pause and reflect. Y'all ever walked up to a busy street, looked to the left and looked to the right, and realized there's no way I can go anyplace? How many of y'all kind of feel that's where the economy's at today? I don't know what to do. How do I get across that? The other thing is, three of y'all this morning, congratulations. Number one daily double, you won. Asked me, when are we going back to normal? We are normal. It's different. It's said to be the same thing for 66 days in a row on average, but you gotta make it happen. We're 3 years of counting, folks. Not gonna happen on that one. Let me back up on that one. We have shrinking commercial sales. No, we have plunging commercial sales. We have shrinking house apartment sales. We got downward pressure on rents and home values. Bloomberg's economist, great economist, beginning of the year came out and said we're going to have a recession this year. And this economist literally said, I can basically guarantee. So about a month and a half ago, he's one of those Sunday morning talk shows. One of the commentators, she's one of my favorites. She always asks the best questions and really thoughtful kind of questions. And she asked him, she said, well, what's the probability of recession? He said, probably 110%, but let's round it to 100. And that's why we're sitting on this thing, which is kind of a little bit scary when you talk about that type of thing. This, kind of good news here. Goldman Sachs doesn't see a recession.
title guarantee.